Perfect.
Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Today so far, it's just me and my new friend Abe. Abe, welcome.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me. This is my first meetup. I'm really excited to learn a lot from Jason.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. So I had certain plans for what I was going to do today, and maybe we still will, but I was going to do some like object-oriented programming demonstrations and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
Abe, you and me, for the last few minutes, we're just kind of having a nice conversation, and you maybe had some questions about my consulting work, so we can just keep talking and see where the wind takes us.
Perfect, perfect. So you just discussed how you were moving a Ruby code base, sorry, Java code base to Ruby, right?
Yeah, I'm
So,
working with a startup. They recently moved their code base from Java to Ruby. I was not involved with that, but
okay.
now I'm helping them kind of complete that transition.
Right, right, right. So my question was, since I'm really new and I've not really worked with any other programming frameworks other than Java and Spring Boot. I was wondering, since Java is so predominantly implemented in enterprise software, why would someone decide to move to Rails?
Yeah, good question. Just because I like it.
Mm-hmm.
A, I like it, and B, there's enough work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it doesn't matter, like really, like the absolute amount of work doesn't matter. It's just the ratio
Mm-hmm.
of how much work there is to how many people there are chasing that work.
Right.
And with Rails, I like the framework and the ratio works out, so it's fine.
Interesting. Interesting. That's interesting. Is there something Rails provides over Spring Boot or Java? Is it something like that?
Good question. I don't have enough experience with Java to be able to make an
Okay.
intelligent comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like comparing Ruby on Rails with like frameworks in PHP or Python or JavaScript,
Mm-hmm.
anything else I've seen, Rails just seems to be like way ahead. Like they were already way ahead like 10
Right,
plus years
right.
ago. And like
Yeah.
somehow nobody else has caught up. Like there's, as far as I know, there's nothing else at all. Like literally not one single framework that's
Mm-hmm.
comparable, which seems crazy. Like I can't believe that, but it actually seems to be the case.
Right. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's, what I just said was kind of vague, but like some of the things that I find in Rails that I haven't really found in other frameworks that I've tried is kind of this like batteries included idea. You
Mm-hmm.
get a Rails application and you don't have to make any decisions if you don't want to. You just like get everything packaged together. So you
Right.
initialize an application, you can run a few generators and get like database tables and models and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you don't have to do any configuration or plug in and I mean, some like very trivial configuration, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to like spend meaningful time doing setup work. You can just install Rails and then get going immediately.
Interesting. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because a lot of it, I think Spring Boot was also is a lot like that, right? I think there might be an inspiration there. Uh, so even in Spring Boot, right, there isn't much you need to do. It's a lot of so Spring is a framework, right? Spring is a framework, and there's a lot of sub projects: Spring Boot, Spring JPA, Spring Security, gateways, and all that jazz. So
Mhm.
so basically it's basically that whatever you want to install, just you go to a there's something called spring initializer. You go to Spring Initializer, you just download the projects you want, get it up and running. That's all there is to it. Like, just get it up and running. You can modify whatever you want. That
Okay.
Yep. There's not much to you play with it. If you want to configure, it allows you to configure. That's the difference. Like, if you want things personalized, you can have it personalized. But
Okay. I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope to broaden my horizons and work with more languages and frameworks as my career goes on, but I haven't had much reason to work with Java since I don't know, like 1998 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way,
Perfect.
we have a new joiner. Welcome, JDev. I don't know if I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, it is perfect. Yeah, Jay.
Okay.
You can call me. Yeah.
Yeah, and is this your first Code with Jason meetup?
Yeah. I was trying to attend from like almost a month, but couldn't work out the
Mm-hmm.
schedule. Today, finally, I found out the time. So this is my first time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome. Where are you located?
I'm in India right now, in Pune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've been kind of close to there. I was just talking with Abhay. I visited Goa like 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, close to Pune. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely met a lot of people from Pune when I was there, because
Yeah.
that's where RubyConf India was held in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Okay.
interesting.
I see.
Yeah, sorry, not Pune, but Goa.
Oh,
It's
right.
held in
Yeah.
Goa. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So JDev, me and Abhay we're just kind of talking about some random stuff. I had some coding
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I was gonna do today, maybe still will, but we are just kind of chatting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Abhay, did you have any other questions?
No, I think we can go ahead and like do something together. Maybe we'll come up with questions, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can talk about how things are different, right? How things are different with various programming languages, and what could be like the impact of certain features of, I mean, what could how would certain features of AI
Mm,
uh disrupt the like Spring framework, or Ruby framework. We could talk
mm-hmm.
about all that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Abhay, you already told me a little bit, but for each of you two guys, maybe you could give me just like a one or two sentence summary of like your background and stuff like that. Just so I'm just curious.
Sure. Should I start?
Yeah, why don't you start?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So hi. I'm Abhay. I graduated as a master's student from George Mason University, Fairfax, Virginia. Since then, I've been working part time as a software engineer. I work with Java and Spring Boot primarily. Before that, I went to college back in India. I did my undergraduate studies in computer science as well. So most of my education has been in computer science. However, like as I said in my mentoring message, right? I haven't had one-on-one discussions and one-on-one teaching sessions with anyone, so that I could get some personalized help with the approach I need to take to improve myself. So I'm here right now. So yep.
Yeah, great. Well, glad you found this. Glad you're here. JDev, how about you?
Uh, so basically, I have done mechanical engineering. I don't have my background in computer science. But throughout that 4 years, I was interested in coding, learn C, C++, and eventually I shifted to Python. And currently, I'm working as a software engineer full time. But my mostly works, I mostly work around the data engineering side of our product and ML side of our product related to like integrating models into the code or backend and all that stuff that
Okay.
I usually work around. Uh, but yeah, I don't have a specific background in computer science, and I was always looking for people whom with I can discuss about the computer science stuff and all that
Mm-hmm.
things. And that's why I ended up here. And if
Okay.
you have any particular questions, I can answer. But mostly my work evolves around ML and DL models, uh, Python programming. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of curiosities in that area, and I'd love to ask you some questions, but I'll have to save it for another time probably.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and and get us started here. Bear
Okay,
with me a
sure.
second. Okay, yes. Yeah. So I started working on this small project
Mm-hmm.
one session ago. So I've spent about an hour working on this so far. So
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
jumping into it partway started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the reason that I wanted to do this project is because I wanted to demonstrate some object-oriented programming principles. What
Okay.
I've found in a lot of the Ruby on Rails projects that I've worked on, and I'm sure that this is not unique to Rails, but I've found that they lack good object orientation. And a lot of Rails projects suffer from kind of the same maladies. A lot of times, a lot of the code will be stuffed into the active record models. And then there's a trend currently to use something people call service objects, which I'm sure you guys have that in the Java world and Python world. But it's kind of a disease that the Ruby community is going through right now. Um, but sometimes people ask me like, okay, Jason, so like service objects and cramming everything in the models, that's not the way to go. So like, what is the answer? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is not simple. And so that's part of why I'm making these videos is to try to help answer that question of if we shouldn't do this, what should we do instead? So this is the project that I'm using as a vehicle to demonstrate these things. So it is an expression parser. So if we get an expression like 2x plus 5, for example, mathematical expression, this parser will parse that string into a tree. So we have like plus at the root of this. Sorry, I'm going to start down here. For the term 2x, the sub expression 2x, it parses it having times at the root of the tree because it's 2 times x. And then it has two children, 2 and x. And then if we go up to this entire expression, it has plus at the root. And then the left child is this whole expression here, which again has times at its root. And then the right child is just this number 5. So that's what the program will do. And we don't need to go through this one in detail, but this is just an example of what a more complicated expression would get evaluated to. And here is, okay, so I'm going to build this as a command line Ruby application. I don't want to involve Rails or anything like that because that would just come along with too much baggage and tooling and stuff like that. I don't want it to be a web app. I just want it to be a command line application. And so maybe we can interact with it like this. We call parser.rb and we pass it a string with the expression that we want to parse. And then we get returned a tree. So this here, even though it's maybe kind of hard to read, this is this same tree, just in a format that's a bit easier for the program to generate. So that's what I'm thinking for the interface for this program. And then I've come up with a handful of specifications for the program. This is only a small fraction of what it ultimately could do, but it's at least a start. So for example, when the expression involves multiplication with an explicit operator, for example, 2 times x, as opposed to an implicit operator like 2x. When this is the scenario, one of our expectations is that the root of the expression is the multiplication operator. So basically, this specification is saying like when it's 2 times x, we should have times at the root of the tree. We're kind of taking this and expressing it in words. So what I've been doing with these specifications is I've been translating them into automated tests. So here I think is the one we just looked at. So when the expression involves multiplication with an explicit operator, and here's the expression, 2 times x. One of our expectations is that it has a root of times. And there's the expectation for that. So I've done a handful of these. So far, we have an expression that's just a single constant of 5. We have 2 times x. We have 2x. And now, at the end of the last session, I added this new one for division. And I don't have this working yet. If I run all the tests, this one for division fails. So that's what I'm going to be adding. And by the way, here's the code we have so far. And this code is very crude. I don't think it's great code, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to let the tests help me hammer this code into shape. Okay. So how do we make it so that when we get an expression like x divided by 3, the expression we get back has division at its root? Well, what's the dumbest, simplest thing we could do? We could say, if the value includes division, root equals division. Let's see what that does for us. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, so that worked. But let's see if all the tests pass. Okay, they do all pass. Okay. Now, this is dumb. I don't think that's a good structure, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. Okay, I want to assert that the left child is x, because it's x divided by 3. Okay, expected x and got, oh, sorry, expression dot left child. Expected x and got nil. Okay. Well, we can do something similar to what we do over here. And we can say parts equals value dot split on the division sign, and then say left child is parts dot first. That makes this pass, and those pass. Everything passes. Okay. Now let's add a test for right child. Has a right child of 3. And I expect that this will fail. So we can say right child equals parts dot last. But that's not quite it because it gives it back as a string. So we have to convert it to an integer because our test is expecting an integer. Okay, that passes. All the tests pass. But this is very duplicative. So I want to address that. But first, since we have all the tests passing, let's commit this. Get division working. Okay. By the way, if I'm going too fast or if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to just interrupt me and ask.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let's take care of this duplication here. First of all, what is the nature of the duplication? What's the duplicated part? You know, it's this part where it does parts equals value dot split and then the left child and right child assignment. Well, here's one way we could address it. we could like extract this into a method. I don't know what we would call it. Split on character. Okay, and then split it on this character here. And then we could do this. So here we could say left child, right child equals split on division. Let's see if that works. Does not. Oh, I typed split in. Still didn't work. Okay, value. All right, we have to give it value. Let's actually assign that to an instance variable. Okay, so that works, except we're expecting an integer of 3 and we get a string of 3 here in this one. So this doesn't quite work. So let's figure out how we can deal with that. Basically, if it's a variable, we want to leave it as is, but if it's numeric, we want to convert it to an integer. So let's see. Again, I'm just going to think of the dumbest thing I can. Make numeric. Value.2i. So for each of these ones, I'll say make numeric. Okay, but the problem with that is that it converts x to a 0 because the string x.2i is just 0. So we want to make it so make numeric doesn't convert variables. We want to make it so it only converts numeric strings to an integer. I'm not sure the best way to do that. I'm going to use ChatGPT. How can I convert only numeric strings to ints? Let's see if it understands what I mean. Okay, to me that seems like more complicated than necessary. I find that ChatGPT does that a lot. It makes things more complicated than necessary. Okay, I don't want to use exceptions for control flow. I'm sure that there's a simpler way to do this. Okay, it's apparently kind of stuck. I'm just gonna try something myself because apparently ChatGPT is not gonna give me an answer easily. I'm gonna say if value dot 2i dot 2s equals value. Okay, so basically, if we convert the value to an integer back to a string, if it still is the same, like if we convert the string 3 to an integer back to a string, it's still going to equal 3. But if we convert x to an integer back to a string, it's going to be 0, which will not equal the original. So let's see if that works. Looks like it does work. Okay. Okay. So if that works, it seems like we should be able to do this. Okay. So that's a bit less duplicative. There are still some things in here that I'm not happy with. We can address those in a moment. I'll just say refactoring. Okay. Now it's like we're detecting division by looking for the division sign, and then we're looking for multiplication by looking for the variable x. I don't think that's any good. And let's actually force it to change. Let's do this. Okay, context variable is x. Then we can add another that says variable is not x. And here we make the expression 2y. And we'll expect that it has this root of time still. And I expect that this will fail. It does fail. Okay. So instead of looking for x, let's do it a different way. How about let's say if value includes the multiplication operator, then root is times, left child, right child, we split on times. Otherwise, we split on nothing. Like 2x, we would split on empty string and it would give us 2 and x. I think this is not going to pass, but let's see what happens. Okay, yeah, this doesn't work for when the expression is just a constant. Okay, here, let's do this. We can detect a constant by saying if value dot 2i dot 2s equals value, same trick as before. Root equals value and return. Root equals value dot 2i. Okay. And by the way, do we even need this return here? We do. Okay. Seems kind of funny that we have this return here, but not here, but I'm not going to worry about that yet because I think this all is going to change. Okay, so let's commit that. I always review what I've changed before I commit just to make sure there's no surprises. Sometimes there are. Okay, refactoring. Okay, so I think this looks a little better. We have distinct groups for division, multiplication, constants, and then multiplication without an explicit operator. But I'm still not completely happy with this. So let's see how we can improve it. Let's see. You know, I think we can, I kind of want to do this. Just to make it clear, it's not necessary, but it makes it clear that left child and right child end up as nil in this scenario. So I'm going to keep that. Or I'm going to commit that. And here, this is not consistent. Everything else has root and then the children in that order. So I'm gonna fix that. Okay. Now this is pretty clear. Division, multiplication, but then this is not so clear. Let's do this. If constant value. And then we can make a method called constant. Okay, that still passes. And so here we can do this. Actually, we can make this a ternary. Feel like that's a little tidier. Okay. Okay, now this is a little clearer, I think. Division, multiplication, constant, and then if it's none of those, this is less clear, but I'm not sure how to make it more clear. So I'm gonna leave that as is. Okay. Let's see what we want to do next. I think this is enough refactoring for the moment. Okay, when the expression involves division, okay, I'm happy enough with all that, I think. Let's see what some of our other specifications are. So we have multiplication with explicit operator. We have multiplication without an explicit operator. We have division. We have constant. All right. How about we do one for addition? We don't have addition yet. Let's do x plus 5. This, of course, will have a root of plus. See what we get. Okay, we don't get plus, we get times. All right, so if value includes plus, then root is plus, and left child and right child are split on plus. Maybe we have to have return. Okay. Okay, and do they all pass? They do. Okay. Add addition. Okay, now it's becoming a little more clear to me what the flaws are of this. Like this is very repetitive. So how can we address this? Oh, here's an idea. Um, okay. What do we call these? Yeah, operators equals plus addition, division, multiplication. Okay. And then we can do operators that, operators that each do operator. If the value includes that operator, then the root is that operator. We split on the operator and then we return. All right, so now we don't have to have these anymore. Let's see if that works. Wow, it does. Okay. I'm going to change this to a constant. Okay. Okay. Now, how do I feel about this? There's still some duplication here, but I feel like it's duplication that I can live with. Okay. Um, Now let's do an expression that has multiple. Let's do one that has nested expressions, we'll call it. So we'll do 2x plus 5. Oh, and sorry, I didn't even finish the addition one. As a left child of x. Okay, interesting. That didn't work. It doesn't have a left child of x. It has a left child of plus. Oh, no, my mistake. Left child. Okay. It still failed because it preserved the space. Expected x and got x space. Should be easy to address though. We can just change split on to to um strip that character. I think we'll want to handle this stuff a little different. Um, we can do this. Um, Children equals parts dot first, parts dot last. Do children dot map c dot make numeric. Whoops, make numeric c dot map. Well, okay, I can just do it right here. Dot strip. Ooh, okay, something bad is happening. Undefined method strip for integer. Okay. So we only strip it when it's a string. Okay. That's not really appropriate here. Where is the appropriate place to do this? Maybe we don't want to call it make numeric. Maybe we want to call it clean. Okay. And it has a right child of 5. And that fails. We get X. Oh, forgot to fix the expectation again. Okay, it fails. We get a numeric value of 5. And I have a suspicion as to why that is. If we do 5.2i, we get 5. We get 5.2s, we get 5 with a space. So with constant, I think we want to ignore spaces. Okay, hang on. 5.2i.2s, that's 5. Okay, strip. I think that's what we want to do. Okay, great. And what did we do? We added left child and right child for addition. Okay, now we can add nesting. So this expression can be 2x plus 5. And the root of this will be plus. Let's see if that works. Okay. And then the left child, this gets interesting. It has a left child of another expression. It's not maybe the right wording, but I'll figure that out later. Okay, expression dot left child. Actually, let's do this. Expression dot left child dot root equals equals times, because the left child is 2x and its root is times. Has a left child with a root of times. And this will certainly fail. Yeah. So now I think I have to change like basically the entire premise. Because now I'm saying when we parse this, we're expecting the left child to be an expression. And everything, every part of an expression is itself an expression, except maybe the operators. Let's see. Break down the expression 2x plus 5 into its constituent parts and tell me what they are all called. because 2x is certainly an expression by itself, so is 5, but I don't think plus is an expression. Okay. Now, what I'm seeking is a term that can encompass all these things, like 2x is something, plus is something, 5 is something. What's a term that applies to all those? By the way, this is how I use ChatGPT when coding. I don't use like GitHub Copilot to autocomplete my code or something like that. I use AI for giving me answers to questions like this. Token. Okay. Okay. So I want to split the expression into tokens. All right, so I think before I add this new behavior, I'm going to stash this. Before I add this new behavior, I want to change my code so that each child is not a scalar value like an integer or a string, but rather a token. And so I need to have an object called a token. Um, but first, let me do this. Okay, let's do this. Um, children.map token.new C. All right, and now if I run this, we'll get a bunch of failures because there's no such thing as token. See, it says uninitialized constant expression token. So here I'll do require relative token. Now let's see if we get that same error or something different. Wrong number of arguments. So we're passing it a value, but it doesn't take one. So initialize. Okay, what do we get now? Okay, expected 5 got token, expected X got token. Let's do this. Let's add a toS method. And now maybe it'll make those go away. No, it didn't. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Let's change all these. So instead of saying expression.root, it says expression.root.value, left child dot value, right child dot value. Whoops. Bear with me through this slightly tedious process. Okay, not a lot more. Maybe I could have done this in a smarter way. Too late now. Okay, addition is the last one. Okay. Undefined method value for token. We'll just have to change this. Add a reader, whoops, value. Okay, now we get some errors regarding the value itself. That's okay, we can do this. I think we can actually move this clean method into token. We can move constant into token. Okay, and to make things a little easier to think about, let's just take like one of these. Okay, so expected 5 got space 5. So this is for addition. So first of all, we don't want this, we don't want to set root to operator. Actually, let's see how many total failures we get. 14 failures. We don't want to set root to operator. We want to set it to a token whose value is this operator. Does that give us any fewer failures? Okay, 11 failures, not 14. Okay. And we are tokenizing these children. But I think what we want to do is we want to do clean value. Okay, now we have just 7 failures. Undefined method, constant for expression. That's not surprising because we moved it. So we can say token.new value.constant. Okay, still 7 failures. Wrong number of arguments. Oh, I see. Yeah, we can change constant to be this. And actually, let's not do this way. Okay, I did something wrong. Undefined method value for 5 integer. Okay. Oh. Yes. Um, let's do this. Okay. Okay, now we only have 5 failures. Line 7. Undefined method value for 5 integer. Okay, so this is when we have just a constant. Okay, here we can do token.new value. And then here we can do token.new nil, token.new nil. Okay, expected 5 and got 5. I think that's because this isn't being cleaned. Okay, great. All right, now we only have 2 failures. Undefined method value for asterisk. I think that's because of this. So we could do here. Whoops. Okay, everything passes now. So what we just did was we changed everything from scalars to tokens, this new idea called a token. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up in just a second because we've been going for about an hour, but I want to do at least one or two more things first. I'm going to commit this. Okay. I want to make a comment. A big part of object-oriented programming is the way in which we apply what I call the analytical knife. I got this idea from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Basically, we have a domain area and we can slice it up in any way we choose. The same way that we can take a motorcycle and conceptually slice it up using the analytical knife any way we choose. We can slice up the motorcycle into the ignition system, the transmission system, electrical system, and so on. We could slice it up like that, or we could slice it up any number of different ways. And here, a couple of the entities that I've chosen to represent this problem area are expression and token. I'm sure, I'm not saying this is the single right way to do it, but I'm sure that if you gave 50 different programmers this problem, certainly not everybody would slice it up in this way. In fact, they might slice it up in a lot of different ways. So that's a big part of OOP to me, is how you wield the analytical knife. And good code is downstream of clear thinking. So there's things like use small methods, don't repeat yourself, that kind of stuff. Those are all heuristics, and those are fine and good. But then there's also just the conceptual level thinking. Like, again, how do we slice these things up? We have expression and token and stuff like that. That stuff makes such a bigger difference than these more superficial things like method size and duplication and stuff like that. Okay, now we can maybe do a git stash pop if it won't conflict. And we can say that we expect this root, the expression's root value equals plus, and that might pass. Yep, it passes. Now we can say the left child's values root. No. The left child's root's value is the multiplication sign. Yeah, because each token is a tree, because every expression is a token, but not every token is an expression. Yeah, but every token is a tree. Like this plus token is a tree with other tokens as children. So actually we have it all wrong. This shouldn't be expression.parse. This should be token.parse. Maybe. No, I think it should still be expression.parse. But each of the children should be a token, which it is. Okay. expression.leftchild.root.value. How do we get a token to have a root? Well, one easy way is we can just do this. That's obviously not right, but it's a start. Okay, undefined method value for root string, obviously. So we can say root equals token dot new plus sign. No, we can say, well, actually, let's say this. It's obviously wrong. That'll force us to fix it. Okay, now that is an infinite loop because in the token initializer, we are calling the token initializer. So how can a token have a token? That's a good question. I guess we need like a base case. We need to know if this token has children. So let's do this. I think we want to move almost all this code to token actually. So this, I think, will get moved and become a method called parse. Yeah, we're not parsing a token. We're parsing an expression. So that is fine. And sorry, maybe this is not the right place for this actually. Maybe this is the right place for it. So the left child and right child are each tokens. Man, this part is hard and we're running low on time. So I think I might leave this for the next session because I think I don't think this is a 5-minute thing. I think it's going to take me a little bit to figure out. Okay, so that's it for my live my live coding. Ape and JDev, any questions or comments on the stuff we did today?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you have a comment or a question? Oh, sorry if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Uh, are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was just saying, I really liked how you made sure that like the code is understood just by looking at it, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we were separating concerns with the operators, the multiplication operator, the division operator, and one with the not explicit multiplication operator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I really liked how you made sure that and the constant. I really liked how you made sure that the code is understood just by looking at it. So I could focus on the what's going on instead of understanding the syntax, because I've not worked with Ruby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really liked. So other than that, I just had one other question. Like I just wanted to know why you decided to go with a compiler application rather than like making it as a web application, because I think web application would like have a lot of I mean it would be easier to access a web application than a command line application. I'm just assuming here.
That's a really good question. I did it because a web application is more complicated than a command line application.
Right.
And
Okay.
I didn't want to have to involve all that stuff. I wanted
Hmm.
to just show the pure programming principles.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. JDev, any questions or comments? Or are you good?
Uh, yeah, I pretty much like it, the way you like separating out and making code very object oriented. Uh, yeah, so that really you can say impressed me because uh like I'm in a learning phase right now where I do the same thing, usually write the first basic code and then try to optimize it and make it object oriented as much as we can, separating out. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's and yeah, other than that, Ruby I'm looking at for the first time. So, but yeah, that's not a big issue as of now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I guess one other comment is that like hardly any of this stuff would have been possible without automated tests. Like to refactor this stuff and then manually check to make sure that all this stuff is doing what it's supposed to, it would just be like so annoying that I wouldn't do it. So I want to make that comment. Um, okay, yeah, I do plan to continue with this. Dear viewer on YouTube, I do a meetup that happens twice every week, once on Wednesday evenings Eastern time, once on Sunday mornings Eastern time. And you can join by going to codewithjason.com and visiting the meetup link. There's instructions to join there. I also want to mention that I do this kind of stuff for work. I'm an independent consultant, and startups and other organizations often hire me to do teaching in their organization of this kind of stuff. By this kind of stuff, I mean testing, object-oriented programming, and domain modeling, among other things. And again, you can go to codewithjason.com to find out how to contact me. I have a consulting page there that goes into more detail and stuff like that. Well, Abhay and JDev, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Jason. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Joshua. Pleasure attending the meeting.